wondering, why do I start singing when I start? Well, today, I'm not singing when I start. This is my therapy. So, if you're waiting for a song, you're not going to get one. What should I do now? I guess I have a show to produce and host and do whatever. So, why don't we do this? Welcome to Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Where we talk about wrestling, we talk about stuff. I'm on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Thank you all for tuning in as we do this once again for you right here, live and living color in the ring of life. And that's because we are excited to share so much with you, the audience, the wrestling fan, from a fan's perspective. I've been doing this now for many, many shows. It's heartwarming to know we have subscribers. Thank you, all you subscribers out there on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Once again, it's real easy to search. We usually come up with the first three Larry's new wrestling. But this show is a fan's perspective about the business, the genre, the sport of professional wrestling. And every now and then, I get a little bit of scratchy voice. For iTunes and Spotify, I just cleared my throat. Here's a nice cool beverage. It's not a commercial, folks. It's not for Sprite because we don't have their sponsorship yet. So if you're a sponsor, sponsor us. Anyways, back to focus. We're doing something here that we talk about stuff. Now, what is stuff? That could be like, did you hear about the guy who overcame adversity, cancer? Or did you hear about that situation with the world champion Oakland A's winning the World Series? What? Seriously? It wasn't in Gray's Sports Almanac. If you understood the Back to the Future reference, it's because I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. As in wrestling, we call it Mark. But in wrestling, folks, I'm also a fan, and I appreciate it. And I worked as a wrestling manager by the name of Sheikh Hassan. Now, Sheikh Hassan was a very unique character. He would say, America number one. No, he would not. He would say, America have to. Like the Iron Sheik. No, I never did it. Anyways, I just said, shut your mouth, shut your mouth, shut your mouth. I didn't want to take the Iron Sheik's gimmick. I wanted to take no one's gimmick. I just wanted to create Andy Kaufman meets my father, meets anything from Looney Tunes, and by the name of Sheikh Hassan. And everyone was entertained, I felt, every time I went into that indie circuit ring. And I can tell you it wasn't a very longevity career, but I got the chance to manage like Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Kevin Nash, Jeff Jarrett, Kamala, Al Snow. I got to manage some of the greats of professional wrestling. And I tell you right now, I got to work with a decent amount of indie wrestlers that were very, very disgruntled because they were mad at the fact that I took their spotlight. I'm sorry. Whatever. That's my other podcast. But no, I kept it humble to a degree, and I just knew that I was hated for no reason. But that's what life is, folks. Sometimes you're not going to get people that disagree or agree or disagree with your philosophies, whether you're Trump or Biden, whether you are Catholic or Buddhist. The one thing I've learned from my business partner, and one thing I've learned about life, is you have to learn how to coexist. You have to learn how to get along with your neighbor. It's like, to me, I feel like every single life matters on this earth. And I'm sorry that African Americans are also extremely discriminated against for their color and shot and killed by the law. And that's unfortunate. Even in court, sometimes you win some, you lose some, even if you go twice. What are you going to do? Just don't move to certain states and get out of there fast. Anyways, all I'm saying is this. The whole point of this shit, the whole point of this stuff, sorry, we just censored ourselves. This show is for the kids, by the way. It's family friendly. So please tell your children to watch me and learn how not to be me. And hopefully they will be very successful, and I will be as well. If I could speak, I'm very tongue twisted. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield. No respect right now. See, I'm one of my favorite comics of all time. See, that's the portion of stuff that we're going to talk about. We can talk about comedy, some of the greats that performed, like Bob Hope. We can talk about Bob Hope. He did it for the troops, went USO tours all over the United States, all over the world to entertain our troops. Thank you, Bob Hope, the late, great Bob Hope. See, that's the portion of stuff you get on the show, folks, where we can talk about other subjects besides professional wrestling. I don't think Bob Hope ever got body slammed, but that would have been interesting. I'm sure he met some. Classy Freddie Blassie was amongst the Hollywood elite back in the day in the 50s and 60s, so I'm sure he may have crossed paths with him. I'm not for sure. I'm just saying maybe. But what I do know is this: Hulk Hogan is performing in Hollywood. John Cena, The Rock, these are all Batista. These are all RVD, Hall of Famer RVD, by the way. We're going to talk about that on this show. All this and more on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Are we talking about wrestling? Are we talking about stuff? I'm on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. If you were wondering what that was, remember when Roddy Piper, I'm sorry, I can't even speak. That's a nice cool beverage. I got that from David Letterman. He used to enjoy his beverage. Shout out to David Letterman. If you need me on your show, Dave, the one on Netflix, I'll be happy to come on. Yeah, I know I just said that. Well, I mean, I would. I mean, if Dave Chappelle wants to come on for a Zoom, I know some people don't like him, but I do. Hey, it'll get us subscribers, Bird. Relax. Anyways, all I'm saying is this. Is there a point? It's an inside thing sometimes, folks, too. Don't worry. It's not for you. But just keep up with me, and I'll go back to you. And what we're doing is this. We're focusing on WrestleMania today. WrestleMania 37 live from Tampa Bay that happened this past weekend. And I'll tell you, folks, it was one of the most unique WrestleManias of all time. I think it was right after the pandemic, meaning the pandemic's still going. Guess what? Yes. So those people were wearing masks in the crowd. And they've been at AEW Live and they've been at NXT Live, but they've not been at a WrestleMania. And 1 year ago, they canceled it. Nope. They kept it going, but they did it at the Performance Center in front of no one. And Edge took on Randy Orton, and there was a lot of matches that had fake sound. And today, we're going to discuss how maybe they needed that fake sound for this WrestleMania. Yes, I said it. I had to get it out of the way. The fans were not engaged. And the reason why they weren't engaged is because the lack of storylines and build-up and excitement, it's lackluster. Even for WrestleMania, it was pretty much one of the saddest WrestleManias I've watched in a long time. The only enjoyment really it gave me was seeing Edge in the match, and I'll discuss it later, and knowing at age 47, he could become potentially the next Universal World's Heavyweight title, since it had been 10 years since he was in the ring, when he had to relinquish the title pretty much right after WrestleMania, where he was retiring due to a career-ending neck injury. So 10 years later, we thought he was going to be the man. But who knows? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But we're going to review on the show what happened. I don't want to jump ahead. But we're also going to discuss the Hall of Fame. I'm also going to discuss the future. We're going to be on location in a few weeks from Parts Unknown. Now, Parts Unknown means once I get there, you'll know. And when I get there, you may not know, depending on if we do things mobile, if we do things on the cuff, off the cuff, whatever that's called. We're going to be doing a lot of new and neat things, maybe even merchandise, maybe even all kinds of great excitement on this show. And we're going to bring it to you day after day, week after week, year after year on Larry's new wrestling. I was hot. I don't have to scream. On Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Look, Bird, I'm getting better. All I know is this. We're doing good, folks. We're learning that an attitude of gratitude will take you a long way. It's either less filling or tastes great. I'm 2.5 years sober. I'm happy to say that life is full of ups and downs and all arounds. But for some reason, I found inner happiness, even though I've got family that are battling cancer. I've got, people I had to cut off in my life due to circumstances. But you know what? I wish them well. But the thing is, if negative things happen, I always open the door. But I just can't have that negativity in my life. And I'll reach out to them later. But in the meantime, I think it's good that we stay apart. Because they say if you're apart the heart yearns for that. So I'm hoping that these people realize that they hurt me and I forgive them. And I just think it's time that you watch me progress. And when you do, I hope we can still be friends. And I hope that I can bring you back, and I hope you're doing better, because not everybody is meant to be around individuals. Sometimes you just have to step away, especially if you're arrested, you're in jail. So you go to jail. You know, I drank and drive. I went to jail. I made mistakes. I went to jail. And guess what? Chicken butt. And that's it. That's all I have to say about that. It's never too late to learn. It's never too late to change. As long as you have a breath in your body, you can get your own podcast. You can open your own party store. They're called party stores. It's in certain states. Basically, you're allowed to become successful, an entrepreneur, a filmmaker, a doctor, a lawyer, a licensed esthetician. It's a very fancy word. It has to do with skin, I think. I'm learning, folks. Every day I'm on LinkedIn. That there's never too late. That's a pop to LinkedIn, by the way. And if LinkedIn wants to be a sponsor, just saying. This show is generating huge amount of fan, what do they call it? Not fandom, like not like good. That's getting press. Yeah, everyone's saying, "Did you hear that jackass said?" Or no, he called me a jack off in court. Never mind. It's the case I lost, but we're not going to talk about it. But I won it in the stage. You know, we'll talk about it on stage. Speaking of stage, have you ever thought about a wrestler doing stand up? That's all I have to say about that. Because pretty much you'll see. And you can't talk about stuff if it hasn't got a date and a time and a place to be continued, like Back to the Future. And we're going to continue this show right now. Why? Because it's my show. Our show. My bad. Damn, I look good. Well, I mean, I do. For those on YouTube, yes, you know. On iTunes and Spotify, tune into YouTube to see how sexy I look. And if you don't, that's okay. We can still be friends. What I do know this, folks. Wrestling has lost a lot of its nostalgia. WrestleMania 37. That's the topic of this show. We're going to be talking about this and most likely focus our attention on the Hall of Fame and the show now. Because honestly, I got to get my notes. And I'm going to get my notes. I got out of frame. I'm back in frame. I got to get my notes and just let you know that this is a 2-night show that consisted of even NXT shows, which I didn't watch, so I can't review, because I really don't watch NXT. I hate to say it. If I don't know the character, and I didn't really get pulled into that character, I'm having trouble following that character. And let me explain. Hulk Hogan, Bret the Hitman Hart, the Junkyard Dog, the Honky Tonk Man, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Akeem the African Dream, the Big Boss Man. I don't like, the badge, but whatever. That's my other podcast. Do you see where I'm going with this, folks? Did you hear every name? For those wrestling fans that are out there listening to this show, if you're truly a wrestling fan, every name I just said from the 80s, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, the 90s, again, because Bret was a transitional from the 80s to 90s wrestler, and he was the leader of the new generation, along with Shawn Michaels back in the mid-90s. Razor Ramon, Diesel, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Hall of Famer Kevin Nash, the NWO, the New World Order, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, X-Pac, a.k.a. Six, Hall of Famer, NWO, okay? Hulk Hogan, nope, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, bad guy Hogan, okay? Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, TakeOver, WWE, Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Wars, greatest time in the history of wrestling. Chris Jericho, Stone Cold Steve Austin, breaking barriers for the podcast called Broken Skull Sessions, where Chris Jericho is the guest of Stone Cold Steve Austin in 2021, and the name Tony Khan was on the Peacock Network, and AEW was spoken about on that show. Now, if you didn't see that interview, please subscribe to the Peacock Network and cancel. If that's all you need to see, to know that wrestling is officially, or should I say, the war and professional wrestling will flourish and continue in a different capacity than it did in the 1990s, because Vince McMahon is worth 2.1 million net worth versus 1.8 billion. Sorry, Vince, Mr. McMahon, 1.8 billion. Now he's worth 2.1 since the previous year. Does that mean he increased his revenue with COVID? When COVID 57's out there and you can't even go out to a show and be in the crowd and buy tickets and generate revenue and shirt sales at the arena, you mean, and sell concession, because that's what the arenas did to make money off the WWE show and AEW, which potentially was about to travel but did not because due to COVID. That was the reason. But AEW, a startup promotion in 2020, 2019, that time frame was when the ball was getting rolled forward for Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Adam Hangman Page. We don't really talk about AEW in depth, but they're the only competition for billionaire sons, because his dad is supplying him money. Potentially, he's using his own. The Khan family money. Jacksonville Jaguars owner. And Jim Ross always says, Jacksonville Jaguars, but he doesn't say Oklahoma, because he doesn't talk about the Oklahoma Sooners now that he's got an NFL team to promote. Okay, because they do it from Daly's place every Wednesday night, and NXT now is going to Tuesdays. I think they're moving, so then they go and say they couldn't handle it. Really? No, it's because there is no more competition. It was evident by this interview that took place between Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it took place between not just Stone Cold Steve Austin, but it took place with Chris Jericho. Okay, now this is revolutionary. This was never seen in the history of sports and entertainment. Okay, because this is what happened on that podcast. They broke down the barriers, folks. The war is over. It's kind of like when Bird and I argue. Sometimes we go to war, but sometimes we make peace. And that's all that matters. In the end, we can still be friends. So the only thing that matters, folks, is that we're doing a show here for you. And we're doing it day after day, week after week, year after year on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. We're talking about wrestling. We're talking about stuff. I know it's annoying, but hey, whatever. That's my other podcast. But this revolutionary interview took place. I was about to watch the whole thing, but I had to get to my other alternative source of income. And I can tell you, I wanted to watch it and call in. Because to me, what I was watching was not normal. To be able to hear, I was in shock. I was just sitting in my chair going, really? Am I hearing this? Am I hearing Tony Khan's name on WWE Network, aka Peacock Network now? Because NBC Universal bought it out and it's not the same anymore, because I don't like the way the screen is and the way you can find things and fast forward things. It's not as good as the network was. But that's our reality, folks. And Mr. McMahon is worth more now because he's making more and because there's commercials even on WrestleMania Live. Yes, there's actual commercials all throughout the show. It started to be that way when they first were doing it before they went completely away from pay-per-view. Commercials, they happen. But now they happen all the time throughout the shows. Every single pay-per-view, anything that has content on the network has advertising with it. And even if you pay for the more advanced premium, it still has commercials, but not as many commercials. So all of it is changing the world as we live in and the sport of professional wrestling. This is something we're going to learn this year as I transition to work with wrestlers now who are no longer just wrestlers. They don't just wear spandex and jump on each other and say, hey, I chick put you in the camel class. Ha! No, it's not about that anymore, folks. It's about do, re, mi. It's like throwing your trump card. You have to go ahead and make it work because it's business, folks. It's just business. And Vince McMahon and Donald Trump are friends. Why? Because they do good business. And guess what? Larry Lawrence, they named so nice, they named him twice. And the wacky one. are about to run wild, brother, on that stage once again. So what you gonna do? Calm down, Larry. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Stay in your lane. I heard that song. I like that. I like that. That's what Martin Cove would say if he was here with us on a Zoom interview. But he might be. You never know. Because you never know what you're going to get on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Yes. Are we talking about wrestling? We're talking about stuff. Once again. And by the way, I got another character coming to you shoot. Anyways, I just throw him in there. He's coming. I'm developing him. He's different. He's unique. He's funny. He's different. He's me. Anyways, was I talking about something? Yes, I was. Yes, WrestleMania 37. The greatest spectacle in sports and entertainment. Let's go through night one. What do you say? Are you ready? No, I said, are you ready? Like Triple H says, when he gets the crowd going for D-Generation X. So let's go through night one. You have the immortal Hulk Hogan and Tyson. Actually, no, we have Vince McMahon come out. Let's start from the start. Vince McMahon comes out to greet the crowd and tell them, welcome to WrestleMania. That's what he does. He does it just like when he was in Pontiac Silverdome, WrestleMania 3, with the amazing Aretha Franklin right there from Pontiac Silverdome, live in Michigan, home of the Rusty Cars. Okay, and that Michigan U-turn that you shouldn't do. Anyways, but you have to do it. Don't ask me. Just go to Michigan. Anyways, all I'm saying is this. Is there a point? Yes, there is. All there is to do here, folks, is realize that Larry needs help. I need therapy. Maybe you're my therapy, folks. We'll talk about it later. Anyways, is there a point to this? Yes. WrestleMania 1, or excuse me, night 1. WrestleMania 1 was Hulk Hogan, Mr. T. I'll pay the food. Anyways, WrestleMania 37. Yes, 37 years later, you have Vince McMahon come out to thank the fans for being back. And the universe was back. And the pyro was back. And the spectacle is back. And then they did the stupid intro thing in the beginning where the guy talks, narration. He goes, oh, yeah, we were here a year ago, and now we're going to start off. Anyways, it's long. It's just boring. Dude, wrestling has lost its nostalgia. But I'm going to tell you why. It's because they didn't hire me yet. If they hire me, then we might come back to normal. Because I'm normal. Can't you tell? Probably not. There's something wrong with me. Anyways, first match. They opened up with a WWE Championship match. Are you serious? Why? Why did you open up with the main title of this company? Like the first title match. I mean, you can't make it a cruiserweight match or a barbed wire match or something. Oh, yeah, it's PG. It's a publicly traded company. But really, I feel that was disrespecting again. And they've done that before, where they opened the show with a, world title match. And the main event was the Sasha Banks and what's the other girl's name? Bianca Belair? She's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's cousin. I don't know. Seriously, though. Sasha Banks, though, she is Snoop Dogg's niece. So maybe that's why she was main event, because Snoop Dogg was like, oh, yeah, that's my niece, dog. That's my niece, dog. And she's the main event, blah. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is this. I know, folks, I'm gangster. I'm from Oakland. I'm allowed to say it. Detroit, what? Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to represent Detroit at least once a show. Detroit, what? All right, there you go. We're done. You're welcome, Bert. There's your one shot out. Go Red Wings. There's your second shot out. All right, we're done now. Michigan U-turn. There you go. There's your third one. Am I making a point here? Yes, I am. WrestleMania 37. You have the best match of the night. Open up. That's what that's supposed to be. The World Wrestling Federation title. Yes, I said the WWF title. Essentially, that's what it is, folks. Before the World Wildlife Foundation stole the name. Damn you, pandas! Anyways, I know I like pandas. They're fluffy, and they can eat your berries. Maybe they'll find something on the floor. Don't let them get your nuts. Anyways, that's a squirrel. They're the ones that like to get a nut. And busting makes me feel good. Anyways, it's the Ghostbusters theme song. You don't read into it. Just enjoy the music. Bobby Lashley, Bird, it's a disturbing show, and you know it already. So don't trip. Just enjoy the ride. It's not about the money. If you are a subscriber, tell someone with money to own us. Tell Joe Rogan I'm coming for his money. Never mind. It's not about the money. Ask Gary Vee. No, he's got a yacht. Ask Stephanie McMahon. She'll tell you. Anyways, is there a point to this? Dude, we're going all over the place today. Why not? That's Borat, but he stole my idea. There was these two guys named the two crazy foreign guys. Yeah, they came before Borat. Where's our money? Sorry. Now let's transition from the heavyweight title where Bobby Lashley won. Drew McIntyre got squashed essentially almost. He didn't even lose. He didn't. Okay, he did the Stone Cold way. That when Stone Cold had all that blood gushing down his face, and Bret Hart had him in the sharpshooter, and he bled until he passed out. Well, Drew McIntyre did not bleed and pass out because they couldn't even blade and get him that blood. They just had him get in the half Nelson, and he finally succumbed to the half Nelson, like Billy Jack Haynes, but he passed out on the floor to the full Nelson. Okay? The full Nelson is not a devastating maneuver, but he fell asleep. And that guy has had the title twice and was trying for a third time since last year's WrestleMania, where they gave him essentially the push. Now they're giving Bobby Lashley the push. Why are they giving Bobby Lashley the push after 17 years? Typically, people don't get a push unless they do good for the company, and they feel like they can ride on his coattails. I never thought of Bobby Lashley being good on the mic. I never thought of Bobby Lashley being great. Even MVP is the manager of the Hurt Business, but the Hurt Business is hurting me mentally because they're not that great. Shelton Benjamin should be the leader of that group. He's been there the longest, you idiots. He's been there, or maybe MVP. No, he's been there longer than it. MVP and him have been there about the same length of time. They should be the leaders of this group. They should be the ones saying, it's like Hollywood Hogan. He said, I'm the man who made wrestling. So the Hurt Business should be MVP. It should be Shelton Benjamin. And they're like the new world order of 2021. Make it like that and incorporate not just African-American folks, incorporate every type of person, race and face, and make it an international new world order that's taking over the WWE. That's how you get the Hurt Business to be the best thing in professional wrestling. But you don't just keep switching the belt from person to person and expect me to get excited. Hulk Hogan was champion for 4 or 5 years before he dropped the belt to Andre the Giant, okay, due to controversy. You see how we did storylines back in the day from WrestleMania 4 and 5 from Trump Plaza? Are you going to tell me right now when Macho Man Randy Savage won the tournament at WrestleMania 4 that we didn't get excited for the transition from Hogan to Savage, and then Savage and Hogan a year later at the same location, Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, New Jersey? Come on, dude. That's what made me want to watch. Not switch the belt, like flip the coin. Okay, it's your belt. Oh, flip the belt. Oh, flip. Oh, no, you get it today. No, you can have it. Come on, dude. What have you done to our show? As a fan, I'm sure other fans, not just myself, are pissed off. And they go watch AEW now, which is considered the alternative, but it's not considered competition. Because obviously, Vince McMahon okayed Chris Jericho, who maybe said on the show he's got 2 or 3 years left. He's 50 years old / young now. NBA fans were talking crap about him when the NBA on TNT came back and they saw the shape he was in. DDP Yoga saved Chris Jericho. He let himself go. He looked in good shape on the show again. Maybe the NBA fans sparked something in him. Maybe he went vegan. Who knows? Maybe he did something to improve his lifestyle to get back in shape. That's why I'm the sexiest I've looked my whole life. I'm not vegan 100%, but I'm trying my best to live an attitude of gratitude. I'm 2.5 years sober. I don't drink, and I do one thing. I stay positive, and I try to not eat processed food, and I try to read the label because all that other stuff's no good for you. I'm learning. Cut me some slack, Bird. I'm learning. Rome wasn't built overnight. But damn, good luck. Exactly. I feel like I hear voices in my head or something. Anyways, all I know is this. Can we continue? Okay. Moving on. Otherwise, it's going to be a 4.5-hour show, and he's got to use the bathroom. Anyways, well, he can still do it. Just don't flush. Anyways, women's tag team turmoil. You'll get the jokes later, folks, or maybe never again. Women's tag team turmoil. You know what I did? It was turmoil. There were moves in that match where I thought, why did she react? Did the ghost hit her? Because she missed completely, but she still made like, ow! Well, at least you could at least touch my face, and then that sounded so weird. Anyways, I mean, at least hit her in the face if she's going to react. If you didn't hit her, she's got to do something else. That's why it was tag team turmoil, and I was waiting for the end. And when it ended, I smiled and I said, "Thank God for that." Moving on, AJ Styles versus AJ Styles and Amos or whatever the hell his name is versus New Day. This guy is 7 foot, African American gentleman, 7'4". I mean, he looks Andre the Giant tall. And African American gentleman that is AJ Styles' bodyguard, I guess. He reminds me of Kevin Nash when he was Diesel coming out for Shawn Michaels. Okay? Because AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels are smaller frame wrestlers, smaller frame guys. And you put a giant next to him, you know what? He looks small. Anyways, but the whole point is this. AJ Styles and Amos, whatever his name is, are the new Raw Tag Team Champions. And New Day insisted, who are the 15,000-time Tag Team Champions, and they came out with Big E, even though technically he's not on that show anymore. He's separate now. They separate him to get his singles push, but we'll talk about that later in the show. He came out, he did his normal spiel. Oh! Whatever the rest of his, hey, fire, act for the new Tag Team Champions and feel the power. It's a new day. Yes, it is. I gave you the really crappy version of what he does. You're welcome. Good luck. Anyways, the whole point is this. I hope I don't get sued for using Bird's terms, but that's okay. I don't care. He can sue me. Anyways, he's not going to sue me. He's a part of the show. Otherwise, he's going to sue himself. Anyways, the whole point is this. Is there a point? Yes, there is. The New Day lose the belts for the 18th or 15th or 17th time so they can win them again later. And Kofi Kingston was at Kofi Mania a few years back. So how's it feel to be at WrestleMania and had your greatest moment and then get squashed by Amos just as fast as they squashed you for your title run against Brock Lesnar, which I was there in LA at the Staples Center on SmackDown when it debuted on Fox. And we blinked. Kofi Kingston was the former World Wrestling Federation champion because Brock Lesnar squashed him in 10 seconds after he had been holding the belt for about a year or so, or maybe it was a little less than that, like 6 months, 8 months, something. All I know is they squashed him. And when they call it a transitional champion, like when Jinder Mahal did it because India was going to be doing some business with WWE, so they gave him the belt. And as soon as they got the business done, they took away the belt. It's business, folks. It's business. It's no longer a competition. It's no longer a show like it was during the 1990s or during the 80s when Bird used to watch Don't Go Messing with a Country Boy, Hillbilly Jim, and the midgets, the little Tokyo guy, and anyone else that could have been, konnichiwa, you know what I mean? Anyone else that could have been a part of the World Wrestling Federation. They did come from New Japan, and Jushin Thunder Liger is a Hall of Famer too, even in 2020, because he accepted a speech that lasted maybe about 20 seconds in Japanese, because that's all he really needed, because he never even wrestled for WWE. Technically, he wrestled for NXT, but they still inducted him into the Hall of Fame. It's business. Everything, folks, is about business. And so we're moving on to Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman. This is all still night one. Remember, it's a 2-night show. Shane and Braun Strowman. Shane McMahon is always my favorite. He was the nicest to me in the bathroom. I know it sounded weird, but I met him right after we got out of the bathroom. And I said, I wanted to work in the WWE. And I said, I spoke to Tommy Dreamer. He said, you spoke to the wrong man. And nothing against Tommy Dreamer, but Shane McMahon is the owner's son. So I guess I have to listen to the owner's son. But I never got a job anyways because you guys never hired me. You did actually talk to me in human resources last year or 2 years ago. And so I'm almost there, but you didn't offer me a job. And I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to actually have an interview with human resources. So thank you, WWE. I hope you enjoy our show, and we're happy to have you in our family. Oh, wait a minute. You don't own us yet. Put me on the network. That's right, Bird. We're going to get there. Just like Rocky Balboa and Drago. Well, Rocky climbing the mountain. Anyways, Shane and Braun Strowman in a steel cage match when Undertaker and Shane McMahon out of WrestleMania in Dallas in front of 100,000 people had a Hell in a Cell. Isn't that like going from A-list match to like B-list? I feel bad for Braun Strowman because at least they could have put him in a Hell in a Cell. But they didn't do it. I don't know why. Because they didn't want to take away from Bianca Belair and Snoop Dogg's niece's main event that I didn't watch, really. I mean, I browsed it, but I didn't watch it. Because I didn't care. It doesn't matter. Shane in a steel cage, and Braun Strowman rips the steel cage. He messes with Shane. Gunner, the guy from TNA, and I don't know his new name, I forget. And Elias are now his cronies. And Shane is saying Braun's stupid. And the oversized giant Braun Strowman, former World Wrestling Federation champion, and they took the belt away from him in this period of time because he's been the belt owner. But unfortunately, all these different versions of champions are not getting their push. They're getting the belt on them and taken away. Why does Shane McMahon have a feud with Braun Strowman? He said that he's stupid. That's the way they built it on Monday Night Raw. Shane McMahon is not really in charge there. Adam Pearce now is the GM guy, like he oversees things on SmackDown. And I guess Shane McMahon comes out and does. There's really no leader of GM, if you will, on Raw. Shane McMahon now kind of does stuff. And Seth Rollins and Cesaro had a match right after that. So, I mean, seriously, Shane lost to Braun Strowman, and we don't know where he goes from there. Is it over? I mean, Shane's not a full-time wrestler. It kind of left us like, okay. And the crowd was into stuff, but honestly, when I get to the main event of the second night, you'll understand that this crowd, whether it was just the night one crowd seemed maybe a little bit more energetic, but the night two crowd was kind of eh. But maybe it's because they've been there for 2 nights, because 2 nights of WrestleMania, that's a whole lot of wrestling for those that went both nights. So they put energy into 2 different shows. That's essentially like 8 hours of wrestling. I'd be tired too. If I'm a crowd, I'm like, is it almost over? It's 8 hours. That's a long ass day. 2 nights on top of all the stuff they did. If they even had fan access or any of it, I don't know. I didn't go. But what I did have is this. And I can still hear it. Anyways, Cesaro, Seth Rollins. Let me tell you, that match was basically a very interesting match. Cesaro, Seth Rollins, they didn't really build it up. And it was very, very, really, Cesaro deserves a push. Cesaro deserves a big push in pro wrestling. You know the reason why? Cesaro is the Swiss cyborg. He's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of Switzerland. And basically, he doesn't seem to get the push. And he's even had his own section, the Cesaro section, where they held those papers and they say, hey, we like this guy. And he does that swing move. Wee! And he makes the guy dizzy and he twirls him around. He set a record against Seth Rollins, I guess, the other night. And now everyone's counting. Even the announcers are counting. Do we really need to count how many times he swings them around? No. Just let him swing them. Anyways, he did this really cool move, though, called the UFO, where he does the airplane spin, where he puts his arms around his hips, and he does it where he doesn't even hold them, like the old school days of the 80s. Airplane spin, go round and round. That was the old school way of doing it. Now the UFO is Seth Rollins' version of getting his ass thrown around in a circle like a UFO, but he does it with no hands. It's sick. It's amazing. I loved it. That was one of my highlights of WrestleMania, seeing that move for the very first time. If he's done it before, I'd never seen it before. So I enjoyed the UFO. And I also enjoy Area 51. But that's a whole nother podcast because I think that they're out there. And I just want to say, E.T., phone home. and I hope we talk soon. Okay? So anyways, they're here, folks. They're amongst us. Watch the movie They Live. If you ever seen it with Roddy Piper, my business partner said, "You never seen They Live? That's like a pop culture classic." I said, "No, I haven't." And then he paid for it or something or whatever. We watched it somehow. It was great. I liked it. Just got to watch it. We actually reviewed it one time a little bit, I think, on another previous episode. We're going to focus on WrestleMania. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking about They Live. So let's get to the last match. Oh, yeah, Cesaro wins. He had never won at WrestleMania. And now finally, he won. Where do we go from there with that? Seth Rollins has it twisted. He was like a Messiah type character, which I didn't care for because I'm not all about that. I don't like people that play gods. I don't like that. But Seth Rollins has like Heath Ledger meets a twisted minister character gimmick now. It's kind of been downgraded. It's still weird. I don't get it. He has one black glove on like he's Michael Jackson, except it's black and not white. I'm very confused on what Seth Rollins is doing with his character, but it's not as exciting as his old Shield character. So whatever the writers are doing, stop it! Don't do it anymore. Bianca Belair, and her opponent, Snoop Dogg's niece, Sasha Banks. Now, let me tell you something, BG. I just couldn't get into the fact that the women, like Ronda Rousey, main event, WrestleMania. And nothing against the women doing it. Let me explain. Because the WWE title is the main title of the company, that should be the end match. So when you open up with Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre, you're essentially spitting in the face of all the greats of decades past, prior to even WrestleMania. So in a sense, it's almost saying they're not that important anymore because it's business. And now the women's revolution is giving these women a chance to showcase, which I can respect, but let's focus, maybe make them the second to last match like they did with the Raw Women's title, because I believe this was the SmackDown one, if I'm not mistaken. Or I could be wrong. Yes, this was the SmackDown Women's Champion. So, folks, the Raw Women's Championship was the second to last match, the second night, where Rhea Ripley won that title and Charlotte Flair is not in the picture. And we still don't know why. They took out the Nature Boy, Ric Flair's daughter, out of WrestleMania. She did not appear. I heard she's filming a movie. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why. Or her boyfriend just got released because he asked for his release. So is that a punishment to her? So we don't know what the real reason why Charlotte Flair, even though Ric Flair wasn't there. Woo! I'm the dead. He didn't even show up at WrestleMania. Why? I want to see Ric Flair. Woo! I'm the dead. He wasn't at WrestleMania 37. So let's move on to night 2. I still can hear it. Anyways, Randy Orton versus The Fiend. The Fiend is a creature that got burnt. Randy Orton and the little Alexa Bliss, she is weird. She goes and opens up like a big box, like Jack in the Box, and she's winding it up and eventually pops out The Fiend. We know he's back. He had a burnt outfit the last time. Now he was less extra crispy since Randy Orton burned him alive. Yes, on a pay-per-view, Randy Orton burned The Fiend alive. And he recovered nicely. And even Randy Orton had burns to his face, and he's recovered nicely. But Randy Orton is a legend. And he was one of the first people I promoted when I started working in independent wrestling. I have nothing but great things to say about Randy Orton. He had a great RKO, and the match was whatever. That's my other podcast. So, folks, I hope that they find something better in 2021. But I can guarantee you they signed Randy Orton to a multi-year contract to make sure he doesn't go to AEW. And I heard something the other day that maybe, I think it was on Jim Cornette's show, that they keep the wrestlers now at WWE until they feel like they can't get any more out of them because they're too old or whatever. They go to the other show. And that would be now AEW. So I think that's why the war is over and why Chris Jericho could say Tony Khan on WWE television on the network. Yeah, we broke barriers this past weekend, folks. So this is why this episode is going to be up for you to watch right away. No excuses. This is time. There's a deadline, Bert, for this episode because this information needs to get out there to YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify right away because we changed the world this past weekend. I'm telling you right now, folks, wrestling will never be the same after this weekend. And the reason why, it doesn't matter. It just is. And now let's move on. The tag team female match was for the number one contender for the women's tag team titles, which is only on one show, I think. Anyways, Nia Jax, who's like The Rock's cousin, Shayna Baszler, and Natalya, and Tamina, who's Jimmy Snuka's daughter. And Natalya is Bret the Hitman Hart's niece, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart's daughter. They had a good match. I watched some of it. But once again, they just don't draw me in. So I moved on to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with YouTube sensation Logan Paul. Who the hell is this guy? He's huge. He's an entrepreneur. He's a boxer. He's everything. He's huge in the YouTube world. And he was at WrestleMania. His acting sucked. He was boring. And I could have done his acting better with my eyes closed. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have fought too many times, and they don't seem to give us anything exciting to enjoy. And Stone Cold Steve Austin said, you know what? He can do my Stone Cold Stunner and pretend that he created it. Moving on. Sheamus versus Matt Riddle. Bruh! That guy, I don't like his gimmick. And he was with RVD in a funny segment. Rob Van Dam. Okay? I can tell you right now, the Hall of Fame ceremony, we've even neglected. I'm going to go back to the Hall of Fame ceremony. The NWO. Okay? Scott Hall. Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Kevin Nash. 6. They are the reason why we're watching wrestling in the late 90s. And you have RVD, the mid-90s, ECW, hardcore wrestling. All this has taken place, folks, because these gentlemen put their blood, sweat, and tears on the line for us, the wrestling fan, to enjoy professional wrestling. Hollywood Hulk Hogan revolutionized the late 90s. He revolutionized the 80s. And then he's doing business with Bayley. Come on, really? You put him in a pirate outfit, they booed him because of the controversy. Well, make him Hollywood Hogan. Make him the bad guy Hogan and utilize him. But you didn't really give the Hulk Hogan that we deserve at WrestleMania. At the Hall of Fame, you gave him respect. At the WrestleMania, you made him wear a pirate suit and say, R, 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 R. The Hulkster. Brother. Business. It's just business. And even Jim Cornette would probably say that Hollywood Hogan and Hulk Hogan accept today's wrestling. That he can stand as Goldberg storms down to the ring, and Ric Flair can stand there as Goldberg storms down to the ring. Don't you think he should be in the ring? He was before Goldberg. Flair was before Goldberg. They are what is professional wrestling for us, the fan. The 80s wrestlers, the 90s wrestlers, the zeros, and the 10s was eh. And today it's definitely like Haishinu, which is like what in Arabic. Folks, I'm telling you right now, JBL inducted. I'm not the biggest fan. Inducted. But you know what? Congratulations as well. You had also the Bella Twins. Good brand, marketing, genius. Built an empire from their name. Congratulations. You had Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy! Shane! Celebrity induction. You had also William Shatner, Captain Kirk. Again, I don't feel his genuineness about wrestling. Inducted. I mean, he pretends that he really enjoys it. I really don't think he cares. Business. He's been a part of WWF for a while. He's done stuff with Bret Hart in the 90s. I can respect that. But I just don't feel like he loves it. Most celebrities of Hollywood, they don't love wrestling. They heard about it. They're like Bird. They watched it. They know who some of these people are, but they're not like hardcore fans like I am. That's what these celebrities are. Drew Carey, Hall of Famer. Price is Right, Larry, Drew Carey, Hall of Famer. Anyways, Rich Herring, also the Warrior Award winner, and he got a Warrior Award because of his tribute or contribution to the WWF back in the day. I guess he worked with Vince Sr., and he's worked with Vince McMahon till this day. And so he's a longevity employee. So they gave him that, I guess, based on his commitment to working for one company, and they didn't fire him. Congratulations, Rich Herring, Hall of Fame. Also, Titus O'Neil, millions and millions of dollars. He does that weird sway thing. And I'll tell you right now, congratulations on being a Warrior Award winner, but they're not pushing you as a regular wrestler. But you're doing great charitable work, so you might as well retire and just work behind the scenes raising money. And the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. I'm very proud of this induction because of my relationship with stand-up comedy and Rob Van Dam. He gave himself up to the fans. His speech was about the fans and everything to do with the fans. I felt like I'm in court. But, Your Honor, I was earlier. Anyways, Your Honor, this man deserves praise for making ECW hardcore wrestling a staple in the 1990s. If it wasn't for the chant, RVD, RVD, every time he did a move, and then the thumbs, that was it, folks. You knew a 5-star frog splash was coming. Mr. 420, Mr. 420 friendly, Mr. Everything. Thank you, Rob. You know why? I'm an advocate for this. Sobriety, focus, rewards, winning, and not losing, an attitude of gratitude and thanking the fans. Just like to all of you subscribers that are coming, because we're going to bring you Zooms. We're going to give you the best show ever. Like the whole effing show. He's not the whole damn show. He's the whole fucking show. Rob Van Dam. Bleep it out. Beep. Anyways, the great Khali, India, business, thank you. All right, so he would say, I thank you. That's the way he speaks. He's English second language. And then he spoke in Punjabi or Hindi or whichever. And then Seth Rollins and all these other wrestlers do their interviews during the Hall of Fame. It was like a not red carpet. It was like edited footage. So the Hall of Fame in general on Tuesday was just very overly edited from that. It didn't have fans. It had virtual fans. It was different than WrestleMania. So it had fake chants, you know. I'm sure Rob would have loved to have been in front of the fans. He was via TV boxes. But soon enough, he'll be in front of a live audience screaming his name again. And whether it's wrestling or comedy or whatever he wants to do, he's the whole show. Okay? And you had Kane, the mayor of Knoxville. And, I mean, these ceremonies were 2020 and 2021. Dual ceremonies. There was a first half and a second half Hall of Fame. It ran about 4 hours. And typically that's what one ceremony goes for, but they edited down their speeches to the point where they say, keep it fast, keep it quick, keep it simple. And they did. And they respected, and they probably had teleprompters, and they kept it going. And honestly, when I felt like the main event of the second night was Kane, well-deserved. The Undertaker and him had a great run. Brothers of Destruction, great rivals. He took his Hall of Fame career now into politics, and he's the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, where he said he looks out his window and he can see where he, in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, had a match with The Undertaker back in the day in 1995. So I guess life comes full circle, and here we are, WrestleMania 37. And we're going to wrap up this show. We're going to wrap up the card by saying Apollo Crews. Oh, yeah, Sheamus won the championship of the U.S. even though he's Irish, and he beat the Bra, and I was happy about that. But he keeps getting a push and then getting pushed away, Sheamus. And then Drew McIntyre had a feud with each other on regular TV when it should have been at WrestleMania. I have no idea why they didn't have that feud at WrestleMania. Apollo Crews, with his new Nigerian accent, defeated Big E. The guy from NXT, who was on Raw Underground, shows up and beats up Big E, and we have no build-up for that, and that match is over. New Intercontinental Champion, and new United States Champion. Okay? You see how much I care about it? I can't even get it out. And finally, Molly Holly was in the Hall of Fame too. The superhero made it. Congratulations, Molly Holly and Eric Bischoff, the owner, CEO practically of WCW, when he almost bought it out and then got bought out by Vince McMahon. And he's in the Hall of Fame in 2020 as well, 2021. And I tell you, wow, Eric Bischoff in the Hall of Fame is like saying Chris Jericho on Steve Austin's show. Yes, it's just business, folks. We have to accept that competition is over. And now you're just going to get Larry on Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. And finally, the main event. Oh, yeah, Rhea Ripley wins the women's title. New women's champion. And finally, the same Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, defeated Edge and Daniel Bryan. At age 47, Edge came back from a broken neck injury 10 years later, and you think that was what they were going to do. I thought they were going to do it. I was excited because Tom Brady won a Super Bowl at the same venue. But WWE likes to spoil things. So the guy didn't win the title at age 47. He got concerto, whatever they call that chair thing. And then he threw Daniel Bryan's body was laying. He threw Edge's body over him, and then he pinned him. And that was it. The most unexciting finish to a match that had, this is awesome, but it was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And it went away. The fake crowd noise would have been louder. But like I said, this was a live audience of about 25,000 people, probably in 2 nights. So, Paul Heyman, Jey Uso, and a triple threat basically can interfere. Paul Heyman doesn't really interfere anymore. He's just the guy that says he's the counsel, meaning he verbally tells him how he's great, what he should do. He's like the evil ear or evil voice in the ear. He's ECW. He's Paul E. Dangerously. He's a great wrestling personality. And he gives Roman Reigns like the stamp of approval. And now they gave him the push. He fought leukemia. He bought out with Paul Heyman. Which angle would you have preferred? The guy triumphantly returns from leukemia, babyface. Or the guy who gets booed, and now they have a reason to boo him because they were trying to make him the face. It didn't work. So finally, WWE accepted he's a heel. But WrestleMania is typically known for a triumphant good guy win. The last night, we didn't get Edge. We got the bad guy winning and showing his dominance. And we need to understand it's business. It's not about necessarily anything else, folks. If you want competition, watch the WWE Network on Peacock and the overly edited footage now that is not the same. So if you have a VHS tape like I did, I would record every Monday night. I would record both shows. I would flip back and forth. And I have those VHS tapes. Now that's a VHS, meaning the home equipment. That's like the 1980s way of recording. And then when you got that staticky thing, it meant the tape was bad. Anyways. Edge and Daniel Bryan will probably have a feud now. And Roman Reigns will have a different opponent going into WrestleMania Backlash, Sunday, May 16th. And I think we're going back to the Thunderdome. So I don't know when we're going to start traveling, WWE. I don't know when AEW is going to start traveling this year. But one thing I do know is this show's traveling, and we're going places, maybe to a galaxy far, far away. Who knows where you're going to find our show, stage, podcast, t-shirts. Stay in your lane. Because one thing I do know, our life is whatever we make of it. Let's just go out there to the world today and do me a great big favor. Not just for yourself. Get a doctor's appointment and get that thing fixed. Whatever it is. I love you all. I love you all. Without the fans, we don't have a show. Without you subscribing, we don't generate viewership. Please subscribe on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Don't add me on my profile. I don't have a way to add you. I have maxed out my friends. But we can still be friends. But subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. And like our profile pages. Like our Facebook profile. Like our Instagram. L90210 on Instagram. Larry's new wrestling podcast and stuff. Presented by Lightning Strike Studios. Yella, I go. I love you. Thank you. And remember, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. All right? Because our life is whatever we make of it. Go out there to the world today and simply make it a great one. Thank you all. I'm leaving now. Take care. I gotta go. I'm leaving. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Peace. In the Middle East, Slugfest in the West. And I'm out.